All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Kevin Guthrie. I am the Executive Director of the Florida Division of Emergency Management. And I want to thank you for being here tonight. This might be one of our best turnouts we've had statewide. So glad that you all joined us tonight. We're going to talk quite a bit about programs that are available to you all as a disaster survivor. And, before we leave here tonight, we have people in the back that can individually work each and every person's case and find out exactly what's going on with your FEMA registration, or if there's some other type of service that you may need. We got the right people in the room tonight to help you on your path to recovery. Before we get started, I'm going to get Mason to give Ryan the microphone and invite Ryan to come up and speak on behalf of local Indian River County Emergency Management. Ryan Lloyd.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming out. I'm very appreciative. One of the first things that I want to say right up front on behalf of emergency management, just the leadership of our county. We think about Hurricane Milton, and it was approximately 18 tornadoes that affected the Treasure Coast on that particular day. 8 of those tornadoes made impacts to Indian River County within about a 3-hour time period. Some of those were out west, so they didn't have quite as much impact on the population here closer to the coast. We all know the one tornado that came up in the Fort Pierce area, the Lakewood Park area, where 7 people lost their lives. And that was just south of our border. So the first thing I want to say right up front, we are extremely blessed as a community that we did not have loss of life here. The damages, of course, were significant and extensive in different parts of the county. We had a couple of injuries, but as a community, we're whole. The rest of it we can work out. We had Florida Division of Emergency Management come in tonight to talk to folks, and also FEMA. And for those who are here, we hope that you had a good holiday, and we hope that the rest of the holiday period here coming up is also going to be good for you as well, as we're going through the path of recovery. Before I turn it back over, though, I'd like to recognize John Tkanich, our county administrator, Director Dave Johnson, and also Commissioner Darrell Lord. Would any of you like to come up and say something before we turn it over?
Good. Welcome to District 4.
Welcome to District 4. With that said, we're honored to have Kevin Guthrie and the team from the Tallahassee area, Florida Division of Emergency Management. And with that, sir, I'll turn it back over to you.
Right. Thank you, Ryan. And if you'll take that mic and hand it to that guy over there with the FEMA tag on his shirt, or introduce you to my counterpart, the Deputy Federal Coordinating Officer for the area.
Thank you, Director. My name is David Trevino. I'm Deputy Federal Coordinating Officer with FEMA. Just wanted to provide you with some brief information regarding some of the FEMA support that has taken place and what you can expect from us. So far in Indian River County, we've had over 6,700 applicants. Individuals and households applied for assistance, and we've given out just over $3.1 million to homeowners and renters in Indian River County. That's just a part of the overall $1.1 billion that we've given out statewide for Helene, Debbie, and Milton. And it's really important if you have sustained damage that's not completely covered by insurance or some other source, that you apply for assistance. I know sometimes people are reluctant to apply because they think, well, I applied on a previous disaster and I wasn't approved. But I can tell you that FEMA has changed a lot of our criteria for being able to approve assistance. And so some things that you might have been denied for in the past on disasters, today it's very likely you can be approved. And so that's the first step. And that's something that if you haven't done, after we're done today, in the back of the room, we can help you register. It just takes about 15 or 20 minutes. If you don't have time to do that today, you can visit us at a disaster recovery center. The closest one here is at the IG Center, and it's open from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday. Also, you can apply online at disasterassistance.gov, disasterassistance.gov, or via the FEMA app, or you can call us at 800-621-3362. That number again, 800-621-3362. But the quickest and best way would be to apply right after the event tonight. Also, if you've applied and you feel like you've been denied or you haven't heard back or you're not sure what the status of your application is, we can also help with that. Come see us afterwards. We'll pull up your specific case. We can go through any correspondence we would have sent you that you may or may not have received, just to make sure that you're looped in on what the status of your application is. Very often, people apply for assistance and they don't get it. And we send an email or a letter saying, all we need to do to be able to apply to approve your application is just something simple. We maybe approve residency, which is nothing more than like a utility bill with your name and address, or something along those lines. Those are things that we can resolve quickly. So please, if you apply for assistance and you haven't received assistance, or you're not sure what the status of your case is, come talk to us afterwards. It won't take long. We'll look up your case and proceed accordingly. And then finally, just please keep in touch with us if your situation changes. Sometimes people tell us that they have a place to stay and they don't need housing assistance, and then that changes over time. So if anything's changed since you submitted your application, come let us know so we can make those changes. And we'll have someone speak a little bit more in detail here in a little bit about individual assistance from FEMA. Really appreciate the director and his staff inviting us to be here. Disaster response and recovery efforts are state-led, locally executed, and federally supported, but the state has the lead in terms of the implementation. And it's really, having worked for a couple of decades now in emergency management, it's great to be in a state that's got a state and local network of emergency management professionals that can deliver great assistance. Thank you.
And we're going to take that microphone back over here if you don't mind. We're going to work from this microphone because people seem to think it's a little bit better than the wired microphone. So we'll just pass this one around. I want us to, just pick up on a couple of things that Danny said, and that is, I cannot overemphasize his comment about make sure you keep your information true and correct inside of your FEMA application. If you're staying with a friend or a family this week, but that runs out next week and you now have no place to stay, you need to update your application to reflect that, because you may actually be eligible for more benefits by doing that. So please make sure if your situation changes, make sure you update your application. Make sure if you don't know how to get out, go back into your application, go to the Disaster Recovery Center here in Indian River County, or you can also call the 1-800 number. That's 1-800-621-FEMA, 1-800-621-FEMA to actually get, you can talk to somebody on the phone that can help you out with that. So with that being said, we're going to move into our program, but we realize that each and every person that's in here this room tonight probably has a different situation, because no one's situation is exactly the same. And I want you to understand that all the men and women that are in this room here tonight that are here to support you and help you on your journey to recovery, we realize that it is not a cookie cutter, one size fits all. And that's why we have flown people all the way from Tallahassee down here tonight. That's why FEMA has brought in people from all over as far away. I think it's Sarasota tonight that's come across the state to be here with you tonight to work your individual case and work your individual issues. So please know that we're here to help you in any way we can. There are a lot of resources, and it is very easy to get overwhelmed by the number of resources that are out there. We have a sheet of paper that we should have given you tonight. You should have got that front. And if you haven't, if you did not receive a sheet of paper with points of contact on it, can you just raise your hand? All right, guys, can we make sure that gets out? Thank you, JP. Thank you, Mason. We'll make sure that everybody gets one of those before we get deep into the presentations tonight. But the high level email addresses, the phone numbers, the things that you're going to need are going to be on this sheet of paper tonight, and you will have that before you leave. JP, you got one behind you. Jump right on. Okay. For you guys that are online, we will provide that in a link in the Teams chat. Make sure that you have access to all of that as well. So we have those available digitally, and we will make sure that in the chat we put those in there momentarily after the guys get around to putting the information out to the people here in the room. You're going to have an opportunity to hear from representatives about individual assistance, disaster loans, housing programs, grant programs, and other resilience type information. We have tables in the back of the room with available information and resources, as well as individuals that will be here to answer your questions. Probably the two most, or one of the two most important people in the room tonight are the guys that are wearing the traffic safety vest, if you will. Those are some of our contracted staff that will sit here, and as long as you need them, until they get forced out of the building, they will be here to help you out. And they're here in Indian River County. They will give you the white flow treatment to make sure you're on your path to recovery. We are here to support you in this community as long as it takes. We still have people on the ground working Hurricane Ian that happened 2 years ago. We have people in the Panhandle that are still actively working Hurricane Michael. So I want you to know that we are not here for days, we're here for years. And we will be here as long as it takes to get you back on your feet and back on your path to recovery. So with that being said, we're going to start with our first presentation tonight, which is from Fabian. He's going to talk to us about individual assistance that the state has available. He'll talk about some of the FEMA programs, and then we're going to have somebody come up from FEMA and fill in some gaps as well. Fabian.
Alrighty. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here. My name is Fabian Fernandez. I am the Unmet Needs Coordinator at FDEM, and more specifically, I am on the Individual Assistance Team. I'm honored to be here today to discuss some state initiatives as well as recovery programs and resources available to you. The first program I want to highlight is called Hope Florida. Hope Florida is administered by the Department of Children and Families. The Hope Florida initiatives help connect residents with state agencies like our agency, FDEM, and local resources to support individual resiliency and self-sufficiency. Branching from Hope Florida, Activate Hope is the emergency response arm of Hope Florida, and it provides emergency information, referrals, disaster-specific resources such as food, clothing, shelter, navigating FEMA, and more. It also provides up-to-date information such as where DRCs are, as well as other local resources in your area. You can contact Hope Florida by visiting hopeflorida.com or calling 833-GET-HOPE, and the full number is 833-438-4673. Moving forward, the displaced disaster survivors can also find support through Activate Hope. The state does have a program called NCS, which stands for Non-Congregate Sheltering, and that is a short-term, 6-month state-administered, federally funded program to assist displaced survivors as they transition to longer-term housing. The state is required to prioritize hotel placement for NCS clients wherever available. If a client is in a hotel room that does not have a kitchen or kitchenette, we do provide meals within that hotel room. Also, within state NCS, we do have additional hotel rooms available to survivors. As we do know, FEMA has the TSA program, Temporary Sheltering Assistance Program, and those hotels in the beginning of disaster do get filled up very quickly, and our state NCS program does assist with finding alternate hotels. Something to know as well regarding NCS, all clients are provided an NCS caseworker that they meet with weekly to work towards identifying a longer-term housing solution. The next program I would like to talk to you about is the State Housing Initiatives Partnership, also known as SHIP. Something special to know with SHIP is that every county in the state of Florida, all 67 counties, as well as 55 community development block grant entitlement cities, receive annual funding allocations to produce, preserve affordable housing, and to assist after disaster events. The funding is routed through the Florida Housing Finance Corporation down to the local SHIP administrators. Also, each county determines how the SHIP funds can be utilized after disaster events, but the most common uses are for temporary relocation, rental assistance, emergency home repairs, as well as manufactured home replacement. And then moving on to the next program is the Florida Disaster Legal Aid Helpline. It is available immediately after a disaster, and what that assists with is landlord-tenant issues, contractor fraud, home deed title, heirship, property issues, and they also assist with something that's very important that I send folks to all the time is FEMA appeals, and also insurance claims. And the number for that is 833-514-2940. So I know that was a lot in a short amount of time. Does anybody have any questions on individual assistance or anything in specific?
Good.
Any questions in the chat?
Thank you, Fabian. Danny, who do you have that's going to talk FEMA IA? Anybody? Come on down. Just go to chat. Yeah, you can stand wherever you want to. You can sit with us if you want to.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for welcoming us here tonight. My name is Shartona Woodley. I go by CP, and I'll be guiding you through a brief introduction of FEMA's Individual Households Program, or IHP, which we call it for short. IHP offers both financial assistance and services to those impacted by disasters, especially when insurance doesn't quite cover everything that's essential. Who can get assistance? There are several conditions to qualify, such as citizenship requirements, and FEMA will confirm a few things such as identity and make sure other forms of assistance haven't fully met your needs. How to apply for FEMA assistance. If you sustain damage or loss from Hurricane Milton, the date that you have to remember is January 7, 2025. That's the current end date for the registration period. The quickest way to apply, disasterassistance.gov, or use your FEMA app. You can also use the FEMA helpline, 1-800-621-3362. Although in the past weeks, the line have had a long wait time, it can fluctuate during the days, and at times it can be lower than 5 minutes at times. What does IHP cover? Housing assistance. This can be temporary housing while you figure out your next steps, or repairs that make your home safe again. Temporary housing needs. If you can't stay in your home, IHP helps with rental assistance, lodging reimbursement, or transitional sheltering in hotels. Repair or replacement is monetary assistance for owner-occupied homes that might also cover essential disaster-caused losses. But even things such as accessibility needs to make homes accessible for those with disabilities will be considered. The maximum grant is $43,600. Other needs assistance. IHP goes beyond housing with helping with expenses and serious needs. The program includes personal property, essential appliances and things like furniture and computer, transportation, money to help repair or replace vehicle damage by the disaster, clean and sanitize, childcare, medical needs, miscellaneous expenses, things like generators and chainsaws, moving and storage, and serious needs. For the serious needs assistance for Helene was $750, and for Milton was $770, and our displacement assistance is up to $2660. A few key things that I want to leave with you as it relates to insurance. You don't have to wait for your insurance company to apply with FEMA, but if you have insurance for the same type of perils, we encourage you to contact your provider and have the complete claim. It will be necessary for us to have your insurance settlement or denial before completing the inspection process and making a few final determination. The way this process works is better to explain with an example. Let's say your net insurance settlement is $40,000. You send the documentation to FEMA and the inspection is requested. Based on the assessment, FEMA understands that your home requires $50,000 to be safe, sanitary, and functional to you. Now, after the IA reform was implemented, we can cover the difference of $10,000. Inspection process. Same as you don't have to wait for inspection to apply with FEMA. Also, you don't have to wait for inspection to start your repairs or mitigate additional damages. Take pictures of your losses and have them available for inspection 12 to 14 days. Why haven't I gotten an inspection? You get a question that some people may be asking if it's more than 14 days. It can be because additional documentation is needed or because if self-registration, you may have put minor damages. After you apply for disaster assistance, FEMA may schedule a home inspection. The inspector checks your structural soundness, functionality of electrical, plumbing, and heating systems, and whether the home is safe to live in. The inspector does not decide your eligibility, but verifies your information, like your name and your address, and knows any disaster-caused damages. Inspectors never ask for bank details or charge a fee. Sometimes homes have damage but are still safe to live in. For more information on FEMA home inspections. As it relates to FEMA grants are not a loan and do not need to be repaid. They aren't taxable and won't affect your eligibility for federal benefits like Social Security, Medicaid, and other programs. Letters and required documentation. In some instances, FEMA might require additional information. Pay close attention to your letters and call the FEMA helpline if you have any questions about what information is required. Some examples could be proof of insurance, proof of identity, like your social security card or your driver's license, proof of occupancy, proof of ownership, and our other needs categories such as transportation and movement and storage, for example, require a little bit more documentation. The letters also include whether you're approved for assistance and how much assistance you will receive and how the assistance must be used. Let's talk about appeals, the appeal process. If you receive a letter from FEMA and you disagree with FEMA's decision about your eligibility, or you are initially not approved for assistance, you may appeal within 60 days of the date of the decision letter. If you are self-employed and work from home, FEMA can help replace tools and equipment required for self-employment or not provided by an employer but required for employment. Eligible items may include computers, uniforms, occupational tools, essential tools and equipment not provided, supplied by an employer or required by an employer as a condition of employment. Additional programs available: disaster legal services at 833-514-2940. And our crisis counseling program includes supportive services like crisis counseling, psychoeducation, development of coping skills, and linkage to appropriate services throughout Florida Children's and Family Services, 1-800-985-5990. That concludes the presentation. Any questions?
What's the phone number again?
Which phone number? For FEMA, the helpline?
No, the last one was here.
Oh, 1-800-985-5990. And if you have additional questions and you want additional help with your case, we'll have someone in the back that can help with your case if you want to see one of us in the back.
I assume that the inspection that you talked about, some of the reimbursement things, have to be directly related to the incident?
Yes. And if you have an additional question or any follow-up, you can see one of us in the back. Anybody else? Thank you so much for having us.
And CC, I think that last number you gave out was actually to the Department of Children and Families, correct? So, sir, on that phone number, both of those guys in those vests at the back that are wearing those reflective vests, they were actually contracted with the Department of Children and Families through us. So that we actually have somebody here tonight that might be able to help you out if you got a specific question about that. Okay. All right. All right. Thank you, CC. I appreciate that. The next person I'm going to turn the microphone over to is Small Business Administration. Is nope, not Jim, and it's going to be Jason tonight.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jason, and I am a public affairs specialist with the Small Business Administration's Office of Disaster Response and Recovery.
Can you hold the microphone up a little bit higher, Jason?
Sorry. The Office of Disaster Recovery and Resilience. I want to thank you for having us here to give the opportunity to express and explain some of the programs that the Small Business Affairs offers you and is available to you. A lot of people don't realize that the Small Business Administration actually does help out individuals as well as not just small businesses. There are several different types of loans that businesses, nonprofit organizations, and individuals are eligible for. The first one I would like to talk about is the physical disaster loan that is available to businesses and nonprofit organizations. The interest rate on that one for businesses is 4%. It is up to $2 million. The next would be for businesses would be the economic injury disaster loan. This one is more towards geared towards just keeping your lights on as a business and keeping the doors open until you can regain operational characteristics of your business to get revenue back going. The physical business disaster loan is more for replacing equipment and inventory and things of that nature. Either of these also is a limit of $2 million for businesses. It is 4% of that. For a nonprofit organization, the interest rate would be 3.25. Okay. Now, as far as individuals, as an individual homeowner, there is a loan for you that is a home disaster loan up to $500,000. For an individual, your interest rate is 2.813%. The loan terms that we offer are very flexible. You can do them in 7 years, 15 years, or 30 years. You do not have interest accrued for the first 12 months, and you do not have to make a payment for the first 12 months. And there is no early repayment penalty. So essentially, that if you did take out one of these loans, you don't have to make any payments, and you don't owe any money. And the amount of your loan does not increase for the first 12 months. If you're back on your feet by then, you decide to repay that loan before the 13th month, you essentially have that loan for free. Okay? There is another loan available to individuals that is eligible for homeowners as well as renters. This one is for damaged personal physical property. It is up to $100,000. The interest rate is the same as the previous 2.813%, and all the other terms are the same as well. This would be more for the purposes of replacing your property that is not your home, but what is inside of it or in the driveway. You have furniture, appliances, things of that nature, your car. All right. The credit requirements are essentially going to be determined by the SBA and what the Small Business Administration feels is going to be acceptable. There are certain disqualifying factors, but you do not need to disqualify yourself. Okay, a lot of people think, oh, well, my credit isn't as good as I think it should be. I'm not going to waste my time applying. Don't worry about that. We actually don't even look at your credit score. We only care about your ability to repay the loan. So just try. All right? There's also a mitigation increase available. What I mean by mitigation is essentially hardening your home so as to prevent a similar disaster happening to you again, right? It is up to 20% of the amount of the disaster loan position. So if you had $400,000 of damage to your home that you needed to take this loan out for, you could get another 20% on top of that to be used for things like seawalls, sump pumps, impact resistant windows, things of that nature, hardening your home so that it is more resilient going forward. A lot of times when somebody is denied, it's something simple. The system just catches something that wasn't correct. It might be something as simple as somebody or you or whoever's helping you just transpose the numbers on your driver's license number. So don't get discouraged if after you apply and it does, if it gets denied, appeal. You have 30 days to appeal. There are people that will help you with the appeals process, and certainly do that. You have to be persistent in many cases. So don't give up. Don't disqualify yourself preemptively, and try. Apply. There are a lot of people in this room, a lot of different agencies that are here to help you. Not all of us. Every one of these resources is at your disposal as long as you pursue it. So I always encourage people to apply, and apply early. Don't wait for your insurance to settle. All right? We'll worry about that after it gets taken care of. Okay? Get this application process started and submitted, and then let everything else fall into place as it goes. There are many areas that you can go to physically, whether that be a disaster recovery center. FEMA, we usually have, almost always have, members of the Small Business Administration there that can talk to you as well. We have business recovery centers as well. That's where we are. The SBA is there. We can help you with any of these. We have customer service representatives there that know a lot more about this stuff than I do. They're there to help you. Use them. They are your resource, and they want to help you. All right? You can find any of these locations on and other information on our website, sba.gov/disaster. You can submit your application by going to lending.sba.gov. You can call in for more information. That phone number is 1-800-659-2955. All right? There are deadlines. The deadline for the damaged property, personal property loan, the one for $100,000, and the one for your home at $500,000, that is going to be coming up pretty quick here, January 7th. All right? If you are a business who needs to recover, the deadline for the economic injury disaster loan, as well as the business physical disaster loans. That correct, Tim? The physical is going to be, is also July. July. But that physical business is also January 7th, sorry. But the economic injury disaster loan, the one that is meant for paying your bills, keeping your doors open and lights on until your customers can start coming back in and you can start regenerating revenue, that deadline is July 11th. You have a lot more time on that one. If you're there for fixing your home, getting back on your feet, January 7th. All right? Are there any questions?
I just want to be clear. So the personal loan would be for someone who is a business owner?
No.
How's that connected to SBA?
Good question. You get it a lot. So the SBA actually works very closely with a lot of the other agencies that you're going to meet in this room, right? We do not just strictly focus on small businesses, and we do not just strictly focus on individuals. We have programs for both. So if you are a business, you may have lost or had property that was damaged. You may just need money to keep operations going. You have to pay your wages, leases, things like that until you can get back to business, essentially. But we also cater to the individual. Whether your home was damaged, your car was destroyed, you lost personal property such as furniture, appliances, things of that nature, we have programs for that as well. And if you think that any of these programs might be of benefit to you, I strongly encourage you to call that phone number, 1-800-659-2955, or get on the website, or come down to one of our centers and talk to one of the customer service representatives there to get you started.
Individuals. Business owners. So individuals.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to be very, very clear on it. So even though they are called the Small Business Administration, forget that. Just forget it. That's where the money's coming from, but forget it. They will help people, homeowners, and they will help businesses, even though it's called the Small Business Administration. And again, I was going to save this for after you finish talking, but everybody in this room that has a destroyed home should apply for a Small Business Administration loan on the personal side. So go apply for that. Go apply for that loan up to $500,000. Okay?
And also,
No fee to apply, no obligation to take it, and you have 60 days to decide.
and it's not just for homeowners. You can be a renter, and you can get that $100,000, $200,000 there for your own personal property, car, whatever. Absolutely. Sir.
Does the initial proposed interest rate for SBA loans, does that also correspond with what the federal interest rates are? In other words, if the federal interest rates are lowered or raised, does that affect what the homeowner or the business owner gets proposed to?
Those interest rates are set for each disaster. Those are set at the outset. That's like law.
And I will say that it's below prime. It's below prime. So one of another nice thing to do on this, and again, let's say that it's going to cost you don't have insurance on your home, and it's going to cost you, and you still got some type of mortgage on your home. Let's say you have $100,000 left on your home. It's going to take you another $50,000 to fix your home. So you're going to want to get a loan, and I will tell you this, you're going to want to get a loan for $150,000 because you can actually consolidate your current mortgage and your home repair into this one SBA loan for the next 30 years. And if you didn't pick up on it, defer your payments for 12 months. Defer. You can defer your payments for those 12 months and you don't have any accumulated interest. So it is a win-win situation. I've often said my current home mortgage is at 375. I always said if I ever had a disaster hit Tallahassee, I was going to figure out some way to get refinanced into an SBA loan at 2.813 because my payment's going to be lower, right? I've got insurance on my home, but if I ever had to go to anything else that wasn't covered, I was going to make sure that I get that plus enough to cover my home mortgage, and I'm going to refinance into the SBA program. So, again, that's all legal. I'm not telling you anything that's illegal. It's if they're going to offer it, by golly, I'm going to take advantage of it. So, and again, each and every person's individual case in this room is going to be different. But again, I highly recommend that you apply. If you're a homeowner in this room, I highly recommend that you apply for the Small Business Administration homeowners loan up to $500,000. If you're a renter, that you apply for the up to $100,000. And then if you had other damages, such as your car was damaged or a boat or an RV was damaged, something like that, that falls underneath that other $100,000 or not policy, it's servicing policy, that other $100,000 program that you can apply for as well. All right. Any other questions on that from me or Jason? Let's get the microphone to you.
Thank you. My case seems to be perhaps more realistic than complicated, but I have an obstacle to get through. My wife's finances, she doesn't want to open up and clear how much she's got. Therefore, if by any means she's been telling me that do not apply because we don't qualify.
That's correct.
But that's her and me is coming into a problem here. So I am pretty sure that, yes, I've been, it was already assessed. They keep telling me up to just now, 30 minutes ago, I received another email that says, come here to talk about. Well, I am here to do that. But I don't mean to monopolize everybody.
Can you get, Jason, can you give him the microphone?
Sure. And it's, I get the loan, you say, and then I'm going to end up with some rating to cover it to pay because nothing is so free, right? Okay, supposedly then now my future will be if I am without my wife, she takes off. I'm left by myself. How do I control those future expenses? Thank you.
So don't let that keep you from applying. Okay, so get the application in. Any specifics to your situation will be spelled out to you from your loan officer when it's time to award the loan to you. Yes. So we used to say that you needed to bring certain documents in, pictures, etc. We want people to apply, and then in each individual case, we will let you know what you need to bring in. Now, that extenuating circumstance that you're talking about down the road, again, we work with disaster survivors all over the country, and we've been doing this for 50 years. So we will work with you in that case. You talked about us, you're left holding the bag in that situation, but I wouldn't let that keep you from applying. At least get your application in.
What about divorce?
So the date is January 7th. I want to say too that the deadline is January 7th. But we have a grace period on there. So if you miss the 7th, still don't keep that from you. Still apply. Okay, we have a 60-day grace period around that date, but it's best, like Jason and at our emergency manager folks mentioned, get in as soon as you can. And so there are 11 BRCs that are open. We've got 2 BRCs. We've got a number of centers here where folks are working 6 and 7 days a week, taking those applications. So we are here to help. Definitely here to help.
Right, well, if there's nothing, yes, go ahead.
Could you just quickly speak to folks who have applied for the SBA and are getting automated messages that congressional funding has not been allocated for this disaster? What are the next steps and what should folks be looking for? Thank you.
Well, I can say that they will know basically at the same time that we know. It's definitely one of those things that's above everybody in this room's pay grade.
So, and I'll speak to that just a little bit from the state of Florida standpoint. The congressional package that is on the table is $100 billion. As soon as Congress passes that, then they will be fully funded. So something will happen. Will it be for $100 billion? I don't know. Will it be for $50 billion? I don't know. But the key here is, even though there's not money in the pot today, you still have to apply by January 7th.
Yes,
apply.
You want to get your application in. The application process can be completed. It can be done. You could be approved and just waiting on funding. If you wait for funding from Congress and then you apply, now you have to start on that whole process and however long it may take for that application process. Just go ahead and get it done now, get it done first, and wait for Congress like the rest of the
We still do in the queue as well. So we'll be awarded first come, first served. There are a number that are in the queue now. So.
Yeah. So again, don't get wrapped up in the automated emails that say there's no money for it. Just make the application. You cannot turn back Father Time. So please make the application as soon as you possibly can. We do believe, and when I say we, the national emergency managers, the state directors across the United States, the International Association of Emergency Managers, numerous organizations and associations are lobbying very hard to get this done. And we do believe that something is going to pass before recess, winter recess. So that means it's imminent. Within the next week or two, we do believe that something's going to get done and pass through Congress and the Senate. So.
Thank you.
What are the dates? January 7th. There you go. Very good.
You got it. Here on the desk. Thanks for that. 5 minutes, 3 minutes long. Each of you still out there. They're also available online on the portal when you're going to also report passenger. And we're.
All right. And we're going to, again, we're not running off anywhere afterwards. If you got individual questions and, we need to get a counselor for you and your wife, and that's what we need to do, then, we may be able to work that out too. But the next thing that we want to talk about is a word called mitigation. When we say mitigation, just as Jason just talked about, think about making your home stronger. There are some rebuilding funds there, but this is not overnight money. All right, it's more complicated, it's more complex, but we can still work with you over time to get some things done. So I'm going to let Evan talk very quickly about, or I say very quickly, as long as he needs, about our state mitigation programs, which also include FEMA's mitigation programs. And then I'm going to kind of wrap this out in our presentation about how we might be able to take the SBA loan that we just talked about and pair it with a mitigation program, and to where maybe for those that qualify for that program, the federal government will pay for 75% of your rebuilding. All right, so that's just a little bit of a teaser.
Thank you. My name is Evan Jenkins. I'm a mitigation center at the Florida Division of Emergency Management. I'm part of the mitigation team. Again, mitigation is about reducing or eliminating the risk of damage from disasters such as flooding or strong winds. These strategies include elevating your homes, retrofitting buildings, acquiring flood-blown properties, and reinforcing structures. FEMA offers 2 key programs to help funding residential mitigation projects. The first one is a hazard mitigation grant program, and the second one is a flood mitigation assistance SWIFT program. Both programs are cost reimbursement grants where the property owner may be responsible for anywhere from 25% of the costs or 0% of the cost, depending on the structure's NFIP loss history. NFIP is the National Flood Insurance Policy, if you have one of those, due to a contract signing. So both the common eligible projects, like I said earlier, was elevations, which means you physically elevate existing structures. The other one would be an acquisition. This is a local community purchase a structure from a voluntary seller and is demolished. That way that structure itself won't have repetitive losses in the area. And the last one would be the mitigation reconstruction project. This is a construction of an improved elevated building where an existing building has been partially or completely demolished or destroyed. For the hazard mitigation grant program, the program opened up 6 months after a major disaster declaration. And the cost share is the federal government pays approximately 75% and property owners covers 25%. For the flood mitigation assistance program, this program focuses specifically on reducing and eliminating flood risk to buildings insured under the National Flood Insurance Program. So if you are a severe repetitive loss property, that means you have 4 or more claims under the NFIP, and you get 100% of this structure of your home covered. If you're a repetitive loss property, that means 2 or more claims. It's a 90% federal and 10% non-federal for homeowners. And if you're a local flood risk property, it means you have NFIP insurance but don't have any claims. It'll be 75-25 split for homeowners. It's important to remember that these are long-term risk reduction programs, not emergency recovery efforts. And we cannot begin until a project is reviewed, approved, and a contract is in place. Typically, these grants are for states, local governments, tribal governments, and certain nonprofits. Residents and businesses can apply through eligible sub-applicants such as your local government. However, to recover faster and reduce long-term flood risk, we at the FDM have launched a new state residential mitigation program called Elevate Florida. Through this new program, you as a homeowner can apply through the state for grants for these programs. You can sign up for notifications by visiting floridadisaster.org. You sign up for updates or email us at the residential mitigation at em.myflorida.com. If you want to apply through your local government, each Florida county has a local mitigation strategy working group that prioritizes projects. You can contact us as well, and we'll help you contact the right resources. We also have a flyer with Elevate Florida on it with our information and email. If you have any questions, let us know.
JP, do we pass out the Elevate Florida brochures? So this is Elevate Florida is a new program that we launched just last week, which is designed to help individuals raise their homes and in some cases reconstruct their homes. So that'll be another pamphlet we hand out to you guys, and JP and Mason are going to do that right now. So I'm actually going to stand up and walk around just a little bit now. So if you follow kind of the breadcrumbs of what we've laid out here tonight, is starting with the Small Business Administration loan, and we're going to forget about the fact that it's small business. Take all of that out of there. We'll call them the loan administration for the rest of the night, or at least I will. You apply for this loan. whatever your situation is, fill in the blank on how much money you need. And if you're in a flood situation, is anybody in here in a flood situation where you guys are all wet? So we do have a couple of floods, okay? If you're in a flood situation, you very well may qualify for Elevate Florida. So if you have been flooded twice or more, or 2 to 4 times, you're eligible for 90% reimbursement from the federal government. So I'm going to take a situation. Let's say that I have a home here in Indian River County, and my home is valued at $200,000, or I need to elevate it. It's going to cost me $200,000 to elevate it. I go to the Small Business Administration. I ask for a $200,000 loan. I apply for that, and I let them know that I am applying for Florida's Elevate Florida program, which has a 90% federal reimbursement. So now, remember what Jason said? It's your ability to repay the loan. So now 90% of that loan is now backed by another federal program. So your ability to repay that loan just went through the roof, because now you're only going to be eligible, or not eligible, you're only going to be responsible when this program is over and we elevate your home and pay the federal share, 90%, you're only going to have 10% left. So if it took $200,000, your 10% is $20,000. And now you can finance that for up to 30 years at 2.813% interest. If you're a severe repetitive loss home, and that's happened 4 or more times, it's 100%. But you got to have the cash to start. So what we will do is apply for the loan again, $200,000, and all of that's going to get repaid. If you're in a more traditional situation, it's the first time you flooded, again, that's 75-25, but it still applies, right? For the rest of you in here that are wind-driven, you have a wind-driven situation where, you were a victim of the tornado, then Elevate Florida may not apply. However, the other program, Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, does have a wind component. So we can utilize that 75% grant for wind. That's going to be a little bit slower, but we're trying to figure out how to speed that up, like we did with the flood one. All right. So again, same principle applies. You go get the loan for the $200,000, $300,000, whatever you need to up to $500,000, and then we apply for the loan. We apply for the grant, and then we back it that way. So I know that seems like a lot of moving parts. However, that's why we're here tonight, to walk each and every one of you through your individual situation. And if you don't have time tonight, you got to run out, you got to get back home, you got to get dinner or whatnot, it's okay. Because there's a disaster recovery right here in Indian River County where somebody can walk you through that process tomorrow or on Saturday, whatever day that you need that help, right? With that being said, have we got anything in there, JP? No questions in the chat window? That's great. It is now question and answer time for anything you want to ask the executive director of the building. Go ahead. That'll be first. Actually, Mason, since you're right here with this gentleman, just to save you the walking, sir, go ahead.
Yes, if you have a situation where there's property damage in a family home, what's the criteria as far as who's on the deeds? Is there a criteria?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things that happen there, and we have legal assistance that can help out with heir ownership. We deal with this a lot in Florida, where we have generational properties that have been handed down, the deeds don't match and all that stuff. We have people that can help you with that. So that's, I think, the first thing that we got to start with is who's on the deed, who has in our world, in the federal state world, we call that who has the legal responsibility or legal authority for the house. So once we determine that, then we can move into, okay, is it a property issue or is it a home issue? And then we start heading down the right path. But I think the first thing we need to do is figure out, in your case specifically, who has that legal authority, and then we'll move to them being the applicant. And if that person is deceased, then we can work through those issues. The state has a program, the federal government has legal assistance, we can get you there. Right? You're welcome.
Sorry to ask multiple questions, but
That's
here we are. So I looked into the Elevate Florida program, and thank you so much for expediting that, getting that put out. It looks like that program is going to be most suitable for wood frame structures in flood zones. Can you speak a little bit about the approach that you would recommend either local municipalities or local governments take on for the many concrete on slab properties that are in our community?
So we have elevated concrete on slab. We can do that. We have contractors that can elevate slab on grade. But long story short, what happens is, and again, I'm not promoting any one particular product over another, but most of us see the commercials for Ramjack. So what they do is they come in and they will use that to bring the house back up, put it in fill, so on and so forth. But we can actually do slab on grade as well. And when we start to get into more problems, that's when they're multi-story type stuff. But if it's single-story family dwelling slab on grade, we've elevated those as well. Yes, sir.
You started out by talking about grants that don't need to be repaid, and then quickly went into the loans, low interest loans, admittedly, that do need to be repaid to some extent. How do you know which you qualify for and which you should apply for?
So again, I think the easiest way to answer this question is take a shotgun approach. Apply for everything. Even if you have insurance, make your insurance claim, apply by January 7th. Good. Y'all are learning quick. Apply by January the 7th for the loan. And when the grant cycle opens, the application's open, apply for that too. You want to take a shotgun approach, get as many arrows out there going, to the target as possible, so that we can use everything that we have in our availability to help you in your situation. So if, for example, you end up, go back to what CC said, you have a situation where you're maybe underinsured, your insurance took care of $40,000 of it, you're gonna make the application for the total amount for the small business administration loan. So they paid $40,000, you still have a deficiency of $60,000. So you got $60,000 loan potential. And then let's say that's to elevate your home or harden your home when you apply for one of these other grants and you can get that, then that'd be a 75, 25, 90, 10, or 100%, depending on your situation. So again, go apply for everything. And again, we have people here tonight that can help you. Yes, sir, in the back.
I'm the president of a small HOA. There's 4 units in Bethel Creek area. And, we sustained some damage. We mitigated the cost for all the repairs we had to make. But we're an HOA. And so we didn't reach the deductible amount, so we didn't apply for insurance. Is FEMA eligible?
So HOAs are not eligible for FEMA assistance. However, there may be an opportunity there either with the economic injury disaster loan or the small business administration. It'll just be the finite details of the policies and things like that. But they may very well be able to help you out with that deductible.
Dr. Tar.
Me again. At the beginning of the program, you mentioned a very large number, I forget what it was, hundreds of millions of dollars that had already been paid out in Indian River County. Who's getting all that? I don't know anybody.
So that would be Danny that said that, but 30 million? 3.1. Okay. So 3.1 million, and there was 9,000-ish residents. 6,700 people have applied for FEMA assistance in Indian River County. For those 6,700, we have had a total of 3.1 million paid out to date. So literally divide the 3.1 million times the 6,700. That might be where that number comes up with. But and everybody gets a little, it's not just everybody gets the same amount. It depends on your situation and what you make claims for. But again, that 3.1 million has gone to some subset of that 6,700 in the Indian River County.
Okay, I had heard on the radio that the FEMA was gonna come around, knock on doors, and they knocked on my door, and they said, "Do you have insurance?" I said, "Yes." They said, "Did you make a claim?" And I said, "Yes." And they said, "Goodbye."
Okay,
And
and that's great, but you're still eligible to apply for FEMA assistance.
well, I'm hearing about that now. I had sent in a disaster recovery application.
With
And-
FEMA?
Yes,
Okay.
and after my power came back on, I don't want to sound too negative. After my power came back on and I didn't need housing assistance, I got notified that I was eligible for housing assistance.
Yeah.
Motel.
Yep. That applies. I've got family members that live in Central Florida that got the same thing, but they were good. They didn't end up taking that assistance. So, but again, what we want to do tonight, especially for folks like you, they're like, I want to make sure I'm getting everything that I'm qualified for. There is a gentleman in the back of the room back there with a beer that will be more than happy to sit down with you and pull up your claim and see what things, where you might have gaps or where you might need to provide a little bit of information. You may be able to be eligible for some other dollars.
And the deductible, I've got like a, $40,000 deductible on my homeowner's insurance. How's that work?
Again, you can sit down with those guys. Sometimes the deductibles are eligible, sometimes they're not. It just depends on everybody's individual case. But he told me he was going to be here tonight, and he is here tonight. So they can look at your individual case. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am, over here.
Spoke to rental as a pay back to the when you had everything in your way. Was that short-term rental opportunity or permanent?
So again, depends on their situation. And we run into this a lot with college students in Tallahassee. They think that they're not eligible because they're college students because their mom and dad live somewhere else. That is incorrect. So if he had or she had an individual, they were staying at some other location, and they're staying with you now, that's great, but they are potentially eligible for rental assistance. They're eligible for up to $100,000 towards getting into some other type of a home or other situation. So I would highly encourage them to put it in a FEMA application, put it in a small business administration loan application, and put in their situation. They're obviously staying with friends or family. At some point in time, I know my 20-year-old, I'm ready to, he's only been home like 6-7 days, and we're ready to send him back. All right, so go back to school. But if that's the case, and you say, look, you can stay here for another week, another month, whatever it's going to be, then he needs to update that application because he's technically at that point in time what we call in our world post-disaster homeless. So and that will open up potentially more eligibility for him, right? So, but he is 100%, and I don't have CC or Danny saying anything different. So we've been doing this a lot together for the last few years. So he or she is eligible as a renter. Yes, ma'am.
And when the flood didn't damage inside the house, but AC air conditioning. So I went and applied that night, and my insurance said, "Oh, you went to go FEMA. You have a $3,500." I said, "Yes. If you file a claim, that your insurance would not be taken in consideration the next time that it's."
If that's incorrect.
I felt
100%.
very threatened. I felt like, okay, so I didn't do it no more, didn't follow anything, and I felt I'm glad that I'm here. This is get it.
Yeah.
Which is, you know.
Yes. So you need to file your claim with your insurance company. That's what they're here for. On the deductible situation, there may be able to be some assistance. I also, JP, make sure that she has the phone number to the insurance commissioner, to Jimmy Petronis's office, if you don't mind. Anybody that is having a problem with your insurance company, you need to call the CFO's office, Chief Financial Officer Jimmy Petronis, and let him know that. In Florida, when you make a claim, you are required, they are required to put somebody on your property within 7 days, 7 calendar days. They can't tell you, oh, we're going to get to you next month. 7 calendar days. They are required by law to put an adjuster, an inspector on that property within 7 days. All right, so don't take no for an answer. You say, no, by law, you're required to get here within 1 week. Get here within 1 week. So that's the first thing I would tell you. If they give you any lip about it, call the CFO, Chief Financial Officer Jimmy Petronis. His office will follow up with them. Then, and again, make all the necessary claims that you need to, and also go back, update your application, upload, the fact that you have a deductible, all those things, and people will definitely see what they can do for you. I don't know that they're going to make you whole, and I want to make sure everybody in here understands that. FEMA is not here, and they don't have the capability to make you whole, but they're going to do everything they can to help you. Their mission is to help people before, during, and after disaster, and they are here to help you. They have come from all over the country to help you, literally.
Yeah, I got a question. In my case, I applied 2 months ago, and no decision has been made. So is this normal?
On your insurance or on
No,
FEMA?
I have no insurance.
You have no insurance, so you made a claim. You filled out your information with FEMA over 2 months ago.
Inspector came over.
Okay.
I'm still waiting. Is this a normal?
So I'm not sure what your case is, but again, we have somebody here tonight, the gentleman in the back. He can pull up your case and tell you exactly what's going on with your case tonight. Did you have that phone number? Okay. Yeah, I was going to read it out loud for everybody if you don't mind. Thank you. Anybody else? You got the number back there, basically. So for the CFO's insurance office, if you need them, that number is not on the sheet of paper. So if you want to jot it down, maybe on the back. For the Chief Financial Officer insurance issues, 1-800-378-0445. It's 1-800-378-0445. Any other questions? Okay. Well, I want to thank you guys for coming out tonight. Again, we're not running off, not running anywhere. FEMA staff, SBA staff, indelible staff, contract staff for the state of Florida. We will be here as long as it takes to get through to you guys tonight. And again, if you cannot stay, you got to go home and take care of kids, grandkids. You got to get some dinner or whatever. Go to a disaster recovery center and meet with somebody in person. I always recommend that. That's why FEMA sends people from all over the country. That's why SBA sends people from all over the country to these disaster recovery centers and these business recovery centers so that they can talk with you live in person and work your case with you. Okay? Thank you. The center is, I think it's 8 to 7. And the IG Center, which is here. Thank you, Macy. So it's the IG Center, which is here, Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Right? Yes, sir.
I have a friend of mine who was extremely up on my toes to bring this up, her situation. She lives on 20th Avenue in different corners. She's been flooded out 4 to 5 times. No one seemed to care for us. Who really good make bills elevated high? All the water runs into her house. Could be done about that.
So what we could do about that is potentially use Elevate Florida funds to elevate her up in the air as well. So she needs to make application. She needs to talk to, she lives here in Vero. So I'm going to make sure that this gentleman right here gives his card to you so you can give that card to her and just make contact with JP. Okay, you're welcome. That's easy.
I think it's a code enforcement.
Well, there's a couple of things that play there, but again, to fix that problem, we need to get her up in the air, and we're going to work on that. Okay. Again, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for being here. I really appreciate you guys had the best attendance of anybody in the state of Florida. Thank you so much for being here.